What is up, the Lions fans? It's your boy Motor City Don P, and we are back here once again, and you already know what it is. It is just another Victory Friday. I think it's is it the first Victory Friday of the year? I don't know. We played on Thanksgiving, and we didn't win that one. So that was not a Victory Friday. Then we played on Thursday night football. We won that one, so it was Victory Friday, and hopefully the next time we play on Thursday, it'll be just another Victory Friday because we will be going up against those Minnesota Vikings. But we're gonna get into it, man. When you see me in front of your TV, one thing's for certain and three things are for sure. Number one, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. Number two, we came to give you stats and not none of that static. And number three, perhaps the most important number of them all, number three. We want to make sure we keep your Lions news pragmatic. And you may be asking yourself, how, Don? How, Mr. P, does one keep their Lions news pragmatic? Well, it's very simple. It's very easy. I'm glad you asked. And I'll tell you, I don't have a problem with it. Smash the like button, subscribe, and share. Any order that you've done those things in, you've done those things, and you've indeed kept your Lions news pragmatic. But sharing is caring. So when you share this with your peoples, your mothers, your brothers, your fathers, your sisters, your cousins, your uncles, your neighbors, you name it. You name it. You have indeed cared about those people. Let's go ahead and get into it, man, because we got some things to unpack. We got some good news. We got some bad news. The good news is that the Detroit Lions have won yet again. And for those of you who are a fan of that stat about the Detroit Lions not losing two games in a row in the last 3 years, the Detroit Lions have now tied the record all time 15 straight losses without a follow-up loss. Okay? 15 straight losses without a follow-up loss. They tied the record. I don't know who the other team is. There were some other records being tied and broken. Amon-Ra St. Brown broke the record for most catches in his first 5 years with 511. Previously, it was Michael Thomas at 510. And obviously, with Jared Goff throwing him the football, he's probably going to get 50 more receptions this season. I'm just saying. He's definitely going to get 100 more targets in these last. What we got now? Now we're 8-5, third. So we got 4 more games. Okay. He's definitely going to get 25 targets per game because we know how Goff likes to get down. But not a whole lot to complain about there. Amon-Ra did his thing. I'll get the box score stuff to you guys in a minute. Another record that was tied or broken, not broken, but tied. Jahmyr Gibbs, I like him. Jahmyr Gibbs. He tied Mr. Barry Sanders, my personal football father, with 47 scrimmage touchdowns before the age of 24 years old. Now, barring some craziness, Jahmyr Gibbs will most likely break that record in Los Angeles. Barring some craziness, okay? Because Jahmyr Gibbs is a weapon for this football team. The things that he was doing to the people out there, hitting them with the dead leg, the stanky leg, dropping them, breaking ankles, taking ankles, putting them in his trophy case. It was insane. It was insane. And it was so effortless. Right? It was on some Tracy McGrady type stuff. What up, though, Brent DeWitt? He says 8-5 and still alive. What up, though? Right. 8-5 and still alive. But one Mr. Jahmyr Gibbs, special talent, special back, tip of the cap to Brad Holmes for that pick. A lot of people thought it was crazy to take a running back that high. He's not just a running back. He's not just a running back because you saw yesterday he wasn't really doing all that much running the football, not from the backfield, not from a handoff. But when you got it to him in space, you got it to him. He was lined up in the slot, and you got it to him. Oh, you saw what he could do. You saw how special he was, and we've been seeing that throughout the season. So I know everyone is like down and they're like, why is Monty not getting more touches? What up, though, Will Murray? Why is Monty not getting more touches? Why is this, that, and the third thing, man? Because you put that ball in that man's hand, the electrician. He's electric. He is electric. This is why I gave him the nickname, the electrician. He, just like JMO, is a touch away from a touchdown. They are a touch away from a touchdown. That means every time you give them a touch, they could get a touchdown from anywhere on the field. We saw Monty break one. Nice one. Nice one. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But he ain't Jahmyr Gibbs, bro. He's not Jahmyr Gibbs. So that's the good news. I got a timer. Let me go turn my boiled eggs off. 1 second. All righty. So as I said, now we get to the bad news. Ooh. The bad news is where those projects start to piss you off. We finally got some semblance of a pass rush today, or yesterday, I should say. We have 5 sacks. Aquim, my boy AQM, you know what I'm saying? I call him Aquim for short. All right. Al Qadim Muhammad. He had 3 sacks. I think that's his second 3-sack game, or no, I think he had 2.5 before. Surpass Hutch. He has half a sack more than Hutch. He's got 9. Hutch has got 8.5. Jack Campbell, I think, had 1 or 2. I know the big one that Jack Campbell had. And we'll talk about that one. And I don't remember who had the other one if Jack Campbell didn't have 2. But Hutch did not have 1. So 5 sacks in a game that we absolutely had to have. That's great. But had we been able to get more pressure on the quarterback before, then I don't think this game would have been an absolutely have to have. Not for us. It would have been for the Cowboys, but not for us. Brian Branch, as you guys have probably heard, has been lost for the season. He has a torn Achilles. So now this was what? Week 14? Guess what? You probably can't expect him to be back until week 14 of next season. Now, maybe the rehab goes, faster than expected, as most of them go. That's what happened with Hutch. That's what happened with Aleem McNeil. That's I don't know who the Lions medical staff is, who the Lions rehab staff is, but they seem to get people up and about very quickly. So let's hope for the same thing for Brian Branch, and let's say hopefully he can come back in the middle of the season next season. Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, Terrion Arnold. Only one of those people has not been officially ruled out for the season. But it comes to a point, bro, where we gotta have other players in here. We got the Legion of Whom. We got, we got Whiteside. They picked him back up. We got Avante Maddox. We got Rock Yassin. We got Amik Robertson, who was getting cooked yesterday. We got some people that we know, and then we got some people who we don't know. Thomas Harper went out yesterday. His concussion was very apparent. When I saw what he was doing on the ground and when they showed the replay, I was like, okay, that's it. He's out. That's a concussion. And it was one of those like serious types of concussions. Now you got to bring back Morris Norris if he hasn't been picked up from somewhere else. Like with Brian Branch being out. So it sucks, man. Like we can't catch a break. What up, though, Zach Jake? Branch out. Do we bring back Strickland, Kennelly, or someone else? I'm rooting for the local kid, Kennelly. I mean, I don't know. I'm not excited about any of those names that you just put out there. Because, you know, none of them are inspiring. None of them. Kennelly, freaking Norris. Who else? What's that dude's name? It's not Dan Miller. Is it Dan Jackson? I don't know. I know he was hurt. He was lost for the season very early on, and training camp. So he's not a candidate, I don't believe. But look, it's week 14. The Commanders just cut a safety yesterday. So if that's what you're looking at, bro. A lot of we look. Say what you want about Matthew Stat Padford, because I certainly will. I'll say what I want. Don't like him. Okay. But he's throwing the football to Puka Nakua and Devontae Adams. We see the type of catches Puka Nakua is making. We saw what he did last week. He's out of his mind. And I don't want to get too far into that because today is a day of celebration. Today is a day where we talk about how our season is still alive, how our playoff hopes are still alive, and how we don't really need to look forward to the draft. Today is that day. And this is what we're talking about today. Question: do you think we'll make the playoffs? Well, that's what I just said. I do not know who Chuck is. Chuck is someone I don't know. Could Slade play a serviceable safety? Did they move him to safety in Pittsburgh? I mean, he's at that point in his career where it's time to move back there. I mean, Jalen Ramsey did it. I don't know, bro. I really don't know. Hard for me to get excited for this win. Cowboys defense is suspect. Anytime we play a real defense, our defense struggles. No, Rogue Blue, our defense doesn't struggle against real defenses. Our defense struggles against formidable pass rushes. And that's what happened. The Cowboys had a good pass rush. They got Quinnen Williams, and Kenny Clark, and they were neutralized. The addition of Miles Frazier was excellent. Okay, the addition of Miles Frazier was excellent. He was as advertised. You know, Jared Goff had a lot more time to throw. And then there were some times where Jared Goff had time to throw and he threw it into the dirt, and I was confused. I was confused at what he was doing, you know? And then you also saw him that one that he threw to Williams. I mean, he knew the hit was coming. He stared down the pass rush, and he tried to get it to Williams. Shout out to JMO for breaking on the ball and coming back to get it. But I think he was a lot more comfortable with Miles Frazier in there. So I expect him to be a lot more comfortable going forward. We've got another big test coming up next Sunday because the Rams off defensive line is phenomenal. So we'll see what happens there. You're welcome. It's a celebration, bitches. I'm Rick James, bitch. Enjoy yourself. Well, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Fan from Mount Pleasant. Brian Holmes didn't want Slade. We're good. So again, I don't know Slade's ability to play safety. And if you're getting released by teams that are in the playoff hunt, it doesn't say a whole lot about your ability now. Maybe he just didn't want to be in Pittsburgh. Maybe he's like a Zadarius Smith who didn't want to really be in Philly, so he retired. I don't know. But Slay is at the end of his career. I think a lot of us still look at Slay as big play Slay. He's no longer big play Slay. Okay? He's may play Slay. You know what I'm saying? He may play, he may not. So I don't know. I don't know that Slay is the answer. Now you know what looks really dumb right now? Not claiming Quandre Diggs on waivers. That looks dumb right now. There's a guys that have been here before, like Quandre Diggs, like Darius Slay, guys that didn't want to leave, but they left because of Fatty Matty Patty. I think that they have been done a disservice by this regime because they just haven't been looked at whenever they've been available. They just haven't. And these are guys that are fond of the city, fond of the fan base, fond of the organization, and would come back without any issue, without any problems. Quandre Diggs was never a problem in the locker room. He was a leader of the team. Darius Slay was never a problem in the locker room. He was a leader of the team. So I'm not sure what the issue is. I mean, didn't they bring back Jared Davis? Didn't they bring back Jared Davis for like a cup of tea? Like, I just don't understand. I don't understand. So, but now we're in need of help. And again, we're gonna bring back our guys. And look, for all of the good that we've done with our guys, quote unquote, for all of the hey man, that's a way to step up and that's a way to show up, and all the stuff that Dan Campbell said after the game. Guess what? We're 8-5 and still not in the playoffs. We're 8-5 and we're still not in the playoffs. So the assertion that our guys stepped up when it matters most is wrong. They stepped up yesterday when it mattered the absolute most. Like, you gotta have it. But to be in a situation where you gotta have it and it's absolutely imperative that you win is because you haven't stepped up 5 other times this season. Hell, at least 2 other times. If you had stepped up 2 other times when it mattered, you'd be sitting at 10-3. Is my math correct? Okay. You take away 2 losses from 5, that gives you 3 losses, and you add 2 wins to 8, and that gives you 10 wins, right? So 2 more times this season, had you stepped up when it mattered, then you'd be in playoff position. You wouldn't be in the hunt. You'd be either leading your division or in that first wild card spot. If you stepped up when it mattered against freaking Minnesota, if you stepped up when it mattered one time against the Packers, you'd be in the playoffs leading your division. These games are too precious. This is in the NFL. This is not the NBA, where 2 games really don't matter unless it's like way down the stretch somewhere. This is the NFL where every single game matters. And I know Dan Campbell's like, nobody tells us who we are. We write our own story. We do it the way that we want to do it. That's fine. But the way that you want to do it has you 8-5 and on the outside looking in. The way that you want to do it has you down the stretch. Absolutely must go 3-1. No worse. You can absolutely not afford to lose more than one more game. You were at the end of the line and you've got 4 more games to play. You've got to go 3-1. And guess what? That's not easy because everybody thinks the Rams game is a loss. I don't know. Now maybe after you've seen them lose to the Panthers, you feel more any given Sunday, right? And if you feel that they stepped up against the Cowboys or not, maybe you feel better about your chances to go into LA and win because it's going to be 80% Detroit Lions fans there and 20%. I don't even know if you call them fans because they don't have real fans. We know that. Right? We know Matthew Stafford hasn't been able to beat us except for the first year after of the trade. Right? When we had no players. But this year, our whole secondary is who's starting? We got DJ Reed. That's it. That's our only starting secondary member. Everybody else is on IR. Or close to damn close to IR. I mean, Kirby Joseph could play. He probably will will himself to play. He will probably take a Toradol shot, 3 Toradol shots in his knee directly to play against Matthew Stafford because he hates Matthew Stafford. So that's my point. It's like, okay, doing it the way that you wanted to do it and you're not listening to anybody else. That's fantastic. We got 5 sacks yesterday. The previous 4 games, we were averaging 1 per game. AQM had 3 sacks yesterday. AQM hadn't had a sack in like 5 weeks prior to yesterday. It's an anomaly. It's an explosion. Those things aren't sustainable. That's why they're called anomalies. If you were playing consistently, if you had consistent pass rush, if you were applying consistent pressure to the opposing quarterback every week, then you'd be in a lot better situation. Let me see what y'all are saying in the chat. All right. Slay safety, no corner. DJ Reed was out there getting cooked last night. Cooked. DJ Reed was getting cooked. Amik Robertson was getting cooked, barbecued, fried. Brett DeWitt with the $2 super chat. He says, knock the Cowboys out of the playoffs. Well, not all the way out. They still have a 9% chance to get in. Essentially, yes. Did everybody watch the same game last night? Yes. Taylor Made. What did you think of it? Hey, Chef, rather not have a hobbled Kirby out there. I mean, brother, I don't know. You know, I don't know. I don't know what to say about what Kirby is going to contribute. If a hobbled Kirby is going to be better than the next man, you know, a half concussed Thomas Harper, then you put him out there, I guess. I'm not sure. 5 sacks must be the Davenport effect. Yes. Davenport and his one tackle. His one tackle. He's got one stat in 2 games. And that's the key. That's the key, right? That's the key to keeping Marcus Davenport upright. He has to go out there and play not to get injured, and he has to have minimal effect on the game. He has to have minimal impact. All those sacks that he was pushing to Hutch, all those sacks that Hutch got yesterday, right? Because what I was told is that when Marcus Davenport came back, yeah, we would get 5 sacks, but they would all go to Hutch. I'm not saying Hutch had a bad game. I'm not saying that. But he didn't have any sacks. I'm not saying he didn't get a hand on Dak multiple times. I'm not saying he didn't get pressure. I'm not saying he didn't move him off the spot. I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying is that Marcus Davenport was not effective. So Taylor Made Media said he saw trash last night. And I will tell you, I saw trash in the secondary. DJ Reed gave up the most, I think, yards in his career to CeeDee Lamb. 1-on-1. These are the most yards that he gave up. He was hauling ass all game, trying to not. He couldn't be in phase because he was getting burnt the entire game. He looked like Jeffrey Namumbo Ohel Nokuda, the way that he was always behind his man, always playing catch up. I go back and look at the tape. He was hauling ass. He full sprinter stance. There was nothing football about it. There was nothing football about that. He was on the track trying to catch somebody coming around the last turn. Okay, you might as well put a baton in his hand. Not because he was fast, because he wasn't fast, but because he was out of phase. He was nowhere near where he was supposed to be. So he was hauling ass. He looked like he was running a 4x1, just trying to catch up to CeeDee Lamb. And that's not what you want your cornerbacks to do. I told y'all during the game, you could have kept Carlton Davis for an extra $4 million a year. I'm sorry. Carlton Davis is just better. He looked like the second coming of Cam Sutton. Hey, man, I can't disagree. He did not look good. So, again, the worry is, yes, this secondary. I don't know, man. Whenever the draft talk starts, which I hope it doesn't start until after the playoffs. At the end of the day, I'm a Lions fan. At the end of the day, I want to see this team win a Super Bowl. And while the current state of the roster doesn't look great, We said the same thing last year. And last year, we had a great opportunity to be in the NFC Championship game, and Jared Goff turned the football over, and J-Mo turned it over once because our offensive coordinator tried to get too cute, and that was that. It wasn't because the defense was injured and we couldn't stop Jaden Daniels, and no. It's because we kept giving them the football and not taking it away. Okay, and I've said this before. So, all the everyone that wants to talk about all the injuries. Okay, y'all see, like, a lot of y'all watch the Woodward Sports, and y'all Sean Beligian all the time, all the time. All he talks about, those injuries, those injuries. The injuries didn't have a damn thing to do with 5 turnovers. Right? The injuries weren't because your quarterback was injured and he was an injured quarterback, so he was a replacement and he kept throwing the ball to the other team. The injuries weren't like it wasn't you had an injured running back, so you kept giving it to his backup and he kept fumbling. No, that's not what was happening. You lost the turnover battle 5-0. That's how you lose. And you lost by 2 touchdowns. After losing the turnover battle 5-0, you lost by 2 touchdowns. So I'm going to say this again. If you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Remember when the Packers with Aaron Rodgers snuck into the playoffs and won the Super Bowl? No one believed that they would, because anything can happen. Yeah, we got injuries. Yeah, our freaking secondary is absolutely decimated. And a lot of us don't believe it. But if you get to the playoffs, it's a tournament. It's a one and done. And the any given Sunday, situation goes up tenfold, 100-fold in the playoffs. So is it a foregone conclusion that this team cannot win a Super Bowl this year? It's not a foregone conclusion. Does it look good? It doesn't. If we were saying, well, what's the percentage of chance that you give? 1%. Okay. So you're saying there's a chance. Yes. A 1% chance. But this roster has to be constructed differently, bro. Like we are not um we can't approach it arrogantly. We can't look at this thing like we got all the pieces and we can just play with these draft picks. Mm-mm. If you're gonna trade all your 3rd round draft picks, you might as well save that for proven commodities. Just don't use them. Just don't use them. Like, pass on your draft pick, right? Something. I don't know. If you pass on your draft pick, like, you need to be just like making draft day deals. Oh, I'll give you when it comes. I'll give you 2 third rounders for X player. Forget the. I'll give you two third rounders for X spot so I can move up. No. I'll give you 2 third rounders for X player. Right? Then you could have taken those 3 third rounders that you use on Isaac Tesla. Shout out to Isaac Tesla for scoring a touchdown yesterday. But you could have actually used those 3 third rounders for a player instead of a project. Right? Isaac, I believe, don't quote me. I may be wrong. I believe Isaac Tesla has 4 touchdowns. 2 of them have come in victories, maybe, and 2 of them have come in defeat. Yesterday, I would say, because we won by 14, that one of his touchdowns directly contributed to the victory. All right, let's see what we got here. Uh Need to hit Stafford early and often, and he'll throw a pick. Given time, he'll torch our depleted secondary. Facts. It's gonna be a long game next game, fellas. I feel it in my bones. What did you feel in your bones for the Dallas game? Neither club looked playoff ready. Last night. Uh, I would say Dallas not looking playoff ready had more to do with what we did to them than what they did to us. Because CD Lamb went off because our cornerback who was on him was busy running the 4x1, trying to catch him. You know what I mean? It was like, that wide open touchdown that they had where it was Brian Branch and Amik Robertson not communicating. That was us doing that stuff to ourselves. Dallas, Dak was running for his life. We finally pressured the quarterback. And you saw what that did. Our defense finally stiffened up and held them to 3 points 5 times in a row. Pretty much. It was 4 times in a row. They went into halftime with 9 points. It was only after halftime where they said, "Man, forget this." It was 27-9 at one point. They said, "Man, forget this, bro. We got to start scoring touchdowns. We're not going to win with field goals." So, but we'll see. I mean, the NFC East is a weak division. You got the Giants who play hard but don't win. You got the Commanders who have been playing hard but not winning with Marcus Mariota. Now they got Jaden Daniels back. And you got the Eagles who have no offense. I'm not saying Dallas is going to win the division, but they can make it very interesting. They still have a 9% chance. Who watches a guy complain for an hour might as well watch Derek. Okay, Ricky Pacinda, what I will do for you is I will ban you and you can go watch someone else. Goodbye. See ya. We're breaking down. So anybody who doesn't know, we're analyzing what we're seeing from the team. If you want sunshine and rainbows, you want someone to blow pixie dust up your butt, go somewhere else. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. He gone exactly. Oh, everything's great. The Lions are undefeated. We're gonna win the Super Bowl. No one's injured. There's no problems with the team. Hey guys, let's play Tiddlywinks. Like, get the frick out of here, bro. You know? Yeah. Hey, and Ron can talk his stuff, bro. I don't have no problem with Ron. Ron can come in here and say all that stuff because at the end of the day, they're the number 1 seed. We can't say nothing about that. Now, that may be different after the weekend, after Sunday, but right now it remains true. So hey. All right. Let's just talk about how special Jahmyr Gibbs has been. Jahmyr Gibbs has been so special. I just want you guys to go back to his rookie season. What up, though, Lamico Cardenas? Um, you just missed me banning a Slappy fan. Ron Winarski says, I'm glad Gibbs is doing great. He is doing great. All right. Let's just go back to Gibbs' rookie season. And everyone was complaining because you drafted this guy 12th overall and you wouldn't use him. You slow rolled him. Right? And it wasn't until, let's be honest, okay? It wasn't until David Montgomery got hurt before the Ravens game. Not before, I'm sorry, not got hurt. It wasn't until we were getting blown out in that Ravens game that Osama bin Johnson opened up the playbook and let Jameer do it. Okay? Then last season, there was splitting carries like they always do. David Montgomery is out for the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season, and Jameer Gibbs goes absolutely nuclear. I said I did it wrong. Nuclear. I said nuclear. Nuclear. Okay. Jameer Gibbs goes off. He was what? Over 2,000 all-purpose yards last season, 20 touchdowns. And then you were like, okay. Now here's a guy that's going to be special. And lo and behold, he is currently tied with my football father, Barry Sanders, for most scrimmage touchdowns before the age of 24. Now, someone earlier, I think it was someone on the heavyweights, it might have been Nick, who said if you extrapolate out his production over a 12-year career, I think he is on pace for the second most touchdowns in NFL history. Now, obviously, we can't predict the future. We can't predict injury. Hopefully, the bug doesn't bite him ever, right? Hopefully, he's like Barry Sanders, who never really missed major time, right? Didn't have any season-ending injuries, none of that stuff, right? So hopefully, his career mimics Barry Sanders in that way. I'm going to say no, I can't really say that. I can't really say that. Because if we look at yesterday as any indication, Gibbs, if we said all-purpose yards, I'll do it this way. If we were in the era of the bell cow back, I think Gibbs could set the all-purpose yards record, which I don't know what that is. I know the rushing record, but the all-purpose yard record, I don't know what that is. Okay, I know Emmitt Smith by virtue of the same thing as LeBum is doing, playing forever. He got the rushing yardage. I think it took him 3 years to pass Barry after Barry retired. So I would say if we were in the era of the bell cow back, Jameer Gibbs would probably set the record for all-purpose yards. Rushing yards, as I said, if you look yesterday, Monty got it popping with the rushing, because here's what I wanted to talk about. I feel like there are certain holes, and it's, as a former running back, this isn't the patience and vision of David Montgomery. When I'm watching the offensive line block for Jameer Gibbs, whether it's the calls that the plays that they're calling, whatever the case may be. There was a particular play yesterday where they were in a jumbo set and Skipper took somebody out by himself, and then there was a double team block, right? And then there was a safety or a linebacker, I don't remember which one it was, who, if you gave Jahmyr Gibbs that same block, Jahmyr Gibbs was going to be out the back door, and he would have been off to the races, and it would have been a touchdown. So I don't know. I feel like I don't know. It just seems to me like, when Jahmyr is struggling as far as rushing the football, and then Monty comes in, and then Monty's picking up 5, 6, 7 yards per carry, and it's like, were the holes not available for Gibbs? And it's every time that has happened this year, it has seemed that way to me. I don't know if you guys see it, but it's just it's a different blocking scheme when it's Monty than when it's Gibbs. It's like, okay, Gibbs isn't working from the backfield. And yesterday, shout out to Dan Campbell, when Gibbs wasn't working in the backfield, then it was, hey, just throw it to him. Throw it to him coming out of the backfield or line him up in the slot. Get the ball in his hands. Okay. And we got the ball in his hands for, let me see. I told you we would go over this a little bit later. So we're going to go over the box scores. Okay. So Jahmyr Gibbs let's see here. David Montgomery, 6 carries, 60 yards, so 10 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. Javonte Williams, 17 carries, 67 yards, 1 touchdown. Okay, Jameson Williams had most receiving yards, 7 receptions, 96 yards. CeeDee Lamb had 6 receptions, 121 yards. All right. Jahmyr Gibbs had 12 carries for 43 yards. He was 3.6 yards per carry. Montgomery had 6 carries for 60 yards. He was 10 yards per carry. Monty's long was 35. Jahmyr's was 19. Okay. In any game, my question is, how does Monty have a longer long than Jahmyr Gibbs? It doesn't matter, in any game. And I'm not trying to diminish Monty or anything. I'm just saying it just seems a little bit different. It seems the blocking scheme is a bit different when Monty comes in than when Gibbs is in. Right? Because you see that there is no hole there when Jahmyr comes. You understand what I'm saying? It's not like, oh, Jahmyr missed the hole. No, there was no hole. And if Jahmyr was busy missing the hole all game, it wouldn't be 12-6. Jahmyr wouldn't have twice as many carries as Monty if he just wasn't able to be effective. Is what I'm saying to you does that make sense? Okay. Now, he had 43 yards rushing and 77 yards receiving. 7 receptions for 77 yards, 11 yards per reception. His long was 26. He had 7 targets. Every ball that was thrown to him was caught. Okay. So as a result of that, he was 120 yards from scrimmage. So you're going to use him and get him the ball 120 yards from scrimmage and 3 touchdowns. That's a phenomenal game. So we take away the 3.6 yards per carry, which ain't great, and then we add the 11 yards per reception. which is phenomenal. And then everything looks much better. Okay. He had 19 touches for 120 yards. Okay. So that's a bit over 5 yards per touch and 3 touchdowns. All right, let me see what y'all got here. Where's the Apollo Sandman when you need him to dance that troll out of here? Yeah, you need to get that hook. He got it though. But why does Monty always run like he's being chased by a Rottweiler? Hey, hey, you got to feed your family, bro. You know, you got a Gibbs rookie in a blaster box, and he's worth over $100. He will just go up in value. Remember when Ron was trying to say, "Is Jahmyr Gibbs good?" I don't know. Is he? Now the rookie cards in a blaster box. Also, can we talk about how I lost a little respect for Barnes after he didn't blow up Dak on that interception run back? We could talk about it. I think I was asleep though. Oh no, when he got okay. Why he didn't truck him? Yeah, he should have trucked him. He had the opportunity. Yeah, yeah. I don't know what he was doing. He should have trucked him and tried to get a pick six. We're doing all-purpose yards now for a running back who did we not do all-purpose yards for Marshall Faulk? Come on now, don't do that. Do not do that one. Okay? Don't do this. For a running back who's used as a weapon out of the backfield? Nah, we're not doing that. Come on. Come on. You know it's better for a running back to be able to both run and catch. We're not doing that with Taylor Bay. Offensive player of the year coming down to Gibbs, Taylor, and JSN. I would say so, yeah. He tied Taylor with multiple TD games. So they're the only two with 5. No. If you ask me that question, my answer is always going to be no. Barry Sanders is from another planet. Right? He's from another planet. Gibbs had 15 carries for 43 yards last night. He had 12 carries for 43 yards. If he breaks 1 for 70 yards on his next carry, the numbers look different and fans go, OMG, OMG, OMG. All he needs is a block. And this is my point, right? That's my point. Saquon was the master of that. And I've said this before. Saquon was the master of that in New York. He'd be 2 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards, just running it up into the line of scrimmage. And then he would break 1 for 80. And now it's like, oh, he was averaging 6 yards per carry. No, he wasn't. He just broke 1 for 80. That was the same thing that we talked about when Gibbs broke that one in I think it was against Tampa Bay, when he broke that one for 70 yards. And then it looked like he was 8 yards per carry after that. But if you took away that run, he was like 3 yards per carry or 2 point something. So, yeah. Imagine if our offensive line was good right now. Facts. Well, I get where you're going with this. With Monty, the blocking scheme is traditional, but with Gibbs, it's more of a hybrid style of blocking. But why? That's my question. Like, why? If you watch Monty break 1 for 35 yards up the middle because the hole is there and he didn't really break any tackles, put the hole there for Gibbs and watch what happens. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know. Like, I just don't. I don't know the logic behind what that is. Like, if you feel like both of these guys can do a lot of the same things, then why are you changing your blocking scheme when one is in versus when the other one is in? That's the thing I don't understand. Because when your blocking scheme, when the traditional blocking scheme works for Monty, imagine what it would do for Gibbs. Imagine how many 60, 70, 80-yard runs he would have for touchdowns. Bro, remember last season? Okay. Remember last season when Saquon was breaking all of those runs where he had the most touchdowns. I think it was like 10, where he didn't get touched within the first 10 yards. Right? Within the first 10 yards of him getting the football, he didn't get touched. And he had like 10 touchdowns like that. And he led the league in that. And I said, imagine if Jahmyr Gibbs was running through stuff like that. He would have had 2,000 yards easily. Saquon got 2,000, right? But he didn't break the record. But imagine if Gibbs was doing that. You don't think he would have broke the record? He would have broke it in 16 games. And I don't respect the record being broken in 17. I'm sorry. The record was set in 16, so you got to break it in 16. Even if it's a 17-game season, you got to break it in 16 for me to respect the rushing record being broken. Monty runs like every yard is another dollar. And that's the mentality you got to have. Roger Craig had 1,000+ rushing and 1,000+ receiving. Facts. And we don't take that away from him. That's a phenomenal feat. And that's what, remember Amon-Ra and Gibbs had a bet on that last year? Amon-Ra said he would buy him anything he wanted if he got 1,000. So no, we're not taking away nothing from Roger Craig. Montgomery had his TD on third down. So it was a money down. My opinion is you can't stop Gibbs completely, but when you have an RB like that gets you going to crowd the line of scrimmage and you're on high alert and like the efficiency decreased for Jonathan Taylor. But see, Jonathan Taylor was doing that all year. You know what I mean? Monty's hole didn't make the run. It was him breaking tackles. I'm not saying exactly the 35-yard run. I was pointing to another run. Y'all probably don't remember it as vividly as I do. It was a jumbo set. Dan Skipper came across. He blocked one guy. On the very next guy, there was a double team block. So they were like, okay, Dan, you get your man. You two double team. I think it was Graham Glasgow it was Taylor Decker and Miles Frazier. Okay. The only person that Monty had to beat to the outside was a linebacker, but he cut it inside. I'm saying if you give Jahmyr Gibbs that same block, there's a linebacker on the backside. Jahmyr Gibbs is easily beating him to the edge and around the corner and taking that to the end zone. That's my point. Gibbs sometimes hits the hole looking for cutback opportunities. That's fine that he does that. But this is what I'm saying. The blocking scheme is different. Okay? If you're looking for cutback opportunities, Monty's going to cut back too when there's an opportunity. But for example, the one that I just gave you, he didn't cut back. He went to the inside and it was like a 3-4 yard gain or a 5-yard gain when it could have been a lot bigger. So if Jahmyr Gibbs was the beneficiary of that same hole, I think, as you just said, Gibbs hits the hole and looks for cutback opportunities. So that cutback opportunity was a touchdown. All right, he was out the gate. OJ had 2,000 yards in 14 games. Facts. We get that. But that I wasn't born. I wasn't born, and most of the modern day NFL records were set in the 16-game season era. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers came into existence during the 16-game season era, then the Detroit Lions wouldn't have been the first ones to go 0-16. Tampa Bay Buccaneers went like 0-24 or something crazy like that. right? But it was a 14-game season, so they lost all 14 games. And I think they lost the first 10 games of the next season, or the first 8, something like that. But they have the streak for the futility streak for the most games ever lost in a row. But because they did it in the 14-game season, they can't. No one says anything about them being the first to go 0-16. I think it's harder to lose that many games over multiple seasons, because you had a break in the middle called the offseason. You had the draft. They didn't have free agency back then, but they had the draft. So you had an opportunity to make your team better, and you still came out and lost your first 10 games. They both like that play action draw play. Yeah. My man Doug Williams was their QB. Who, OJ's QB? All right. You know what time it is? Mailbag, mailbag. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they reading you? Snick, mailbag. Get your mailbag questions in. Get them in. Bask in it. Um. Oh, the Bucks, when they when they sucked like that. Yeah, the Bucks were terrible, bro. The Tampa Bay Succaneers. All right. Forrest Gump ran for 26.8 million yards in just 3 years, 2 months, 14 days, and 16 hours. Yes, because all he was doing was running. That's it. Um, Mailbag. Last night's performance was not indicative of a 44-30 win, in my view. Just check the scoreboard with 8:13 left in the fourth quarter. I was asleep. Matt Stafford watches tape. What say you? Um, so what I would say about Matt Stafford is he turned back into the Matt Stafford from Detroit, or in Detroit, when they played against the Panthers, throwing pick sixes, getting strip sacked, and losing games. So I don't think the film is what's gonna indicate anything. It's just gonna be the pressure. As far as um the game within the game, every game looks different. Whether the score was as close or far away as the scoreboard indicated is not going to matter next week, because you're going to have a different challenge next week. Are you going to be able to pressure the quarterback? Are you going to be able to sack him? Are you going to be able to knock him off of his spot? Will you be able to do the same thing that you did up front, that you did to Dak? Because if you can do that, then you have a much, much better chance to win. Um, do I think we make the playoffs? Your remaining games, of which everyone picks you to win, are the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, shout out to George Pickens, got out of Pittsburgh and has more receiving yards this season than all of the receivers in Pittsburgh combined. With Pittsburgh's defense not being what it has been in the past, and their offense being what it has been in the past, even with Ron at the helm, and then you're in Detroit, you're at home, I think that is a dub. And then you've got to go on the road and play against 9 and the Vikings. And then you gotta, so I mean, the Vikings he sucks. And if he's not ready to go, then it'll be Rosmer or whatever his name is. He sucks. I think Carson Wentz is out for the remainder of the season. I think you get the dub in Minnesota, because you're just playing a team that's playing spoiler. Then you got to play the Chicago Bears, and if first of all, you got to put out We beat you by 52 points, or we hung up 52 points on you. You got to put that one out of your memory. Chicago is going to be cold. Unfortunately, golf struggles in the cold. I mean, I think that's your swing game. So, in order to be confident about making the playoffs, I feel like you need to beat LA. If you beat LA, then you can have that swing game against Chicago and win or lose. I think you're still in the playoffs. But I'd be a lot less confident if you don't beat LA and then you've got that swing game at the last game of the season. Now we've seen Detroit need the last game of the season and still actually knew that they weren't gonna be able to make the playoffs because what happened with Seattle and Los Angeles. Um, but we've seen them strap up at the end of the season and it gotta have it win. So my answer is beat LA, and I say yes for sure. You make the playoffs. Mailbag. The Lions have some time to heal up prior to their matchup with the Rams. They cover on special teams. Will your boy TK85 be on the active roster in what, a week and a half? I don't see why not. If you gave him a game ball this game and then you just put him back on. The person that I would make inactive would be Sailors. I would put TK85 and Khalif back there. I think that's a better combination. You know, Sailors is decent, but I mean, let take TK85 get his time. It was 3 point apart at times. Yeah, the game. Um, I don't think we ever trailed in the game though, and that was the thing. We needed to stay ahead of them, and we needed to keep it a 2 point, a two possession game. That's what I said when we were talking about the predictions, and I said if you can keep it a two possession game, then you'll win because you got to play against the referees. And I mean, that was a safety, bro. I'm sorry. It was crazy for you to say, "Oh, well, at this angle, at that angle." I mean, his hands were still on the ball, and his hands were over the goal line. Some point of that ball had to be over the goal line, had to be contacting the goal line. I mean, if you're going to break down everything to the millisecond and say, well, you see, in this millisecond, come on, dude. He hit him. His body was in the freaking end zone, and from the naked eye, it looked like a safety. If you've got to go down to frame by frame, what are we doing? That was a safety, bro. But in the end of the game, we didn't need it. Um, when was the last time you grilled a moose? Because I'm hearing there's cats out here doing it every week. Never grilled a moose. Never ate one. Don't know what it tastes like. I think anyone saying that they grill moose, I don't know. It's the same way that they say that they're snipers and they never miss a shot. I don't know. I started scouting for the draft, and let me tell you, watching OL tape is the worst. Zach J, if you want to do that, and if you want to come on the show during the draft coverage and talk about your offensive line people, let me know, and we can get you on. The thing with the safety call is the ruling was a safety, and you're telling me that that was clear and obvious and to overturn. Right. That's also the point where you had to break it down to frame by frame. You had to go frame by frame, and then you want to tell me that it was clear and obvious. No, if you have to go frame by frame, you can't say it's clear and obvious. That one looks like, yeah, that one right there. Yeah, frame number one, that looks like he was all the way out. Come on, dog. Uh What up, though, Belinda Brown? All right, so appreciate you coming through, stopping by, hanging out for a drink, conversation. I got to get on the road. You know what it is. Um, so now let's just have a wonderful Sunday, bro. We won. Our hopes are alive. Let's root for, I guess, a tie with the Bears and the Packers. I don't know, for because the Packers will have a loss at that point. The Bears will have a tie. I don't know. I don't know. I want both of them to lose both times they play each other, and a tie is the only way that can happen. So it is what it is. But once again, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. We came to give you stats, not none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic, and we are out. Peace. We'll see y'all next week.